Terrible, isn't it? Spirit of heaviness is a genuine spirit, and it works in the area of mental health. I once went to Springfield Hospital in Tooting. True story. I got a phone call from a lady, and she said she's mentally ill. Could I come and pray for her? I was like, okay, fair enough. Does anyone live in Tooting around there? If you go to Springfield Hospital, you'll see some funny sights in there. When I went there, the first thing I saw was all prayer mats in the car park. I couldn't park my motor. And all these guys was going, Wallah Akbar! They was all doing that in the car park. I thought I was in Saudi Arabia for 10 minutes. I really did. So I went in and I saw the consultant. And I said, I've come to pray for this lady. And it was a funny thing. In the middle of the room, there was a big telly with a cage around it to stop them smashing the screen. They was watching Jerry Springer. I thought they'd let them, I don't know, I thought they'd put something a bit sedate on them, quiet, but they were all watching Jerry Springer. And I thought, of all things to watch, you know what they like, Jerry Springer, they all fight and everything else. So I went to see this lady, and she said, oh, I think I'm mentally ill. So I said, well, what makes you think that? Oh, this is happening, that is happening. Anyway, I prayed for no effect at all. And I said, you better tell me the truth. I said, because you're not mentally ill at all, are you? You're saner than me. I think they should probably keep me in here and let you go. But she said she was about to be deported. And the only way she could stop herself being deported was to make out she was mentally ill. Anyway, as I walked back through the ward, and they all started manifesting. All people started screaming, and demons was coming out. And when I sort of watched this stuff, and I realised there's a woman in America called Dr. Mendez Farrell. And her and her ministry team go into asylums and mental hospitals, and all they do is pray for people. You know, they have a 70% success rate. 70%! They get people out of there because they realise they're tormented by demons. So I said to this guy, and he was a Hindu, this doctor, I said, I hope you don't mind me coming here and praying for your people. No, I said a prayer in the ward. And he said to me, we all need prayer in here, you know. And the NHS should adopt prayer. It will save them a lot of money. They wouldn't have to spend a fortune on all this medication. And people would get healed, you know. Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the answer. Be still and know that I am God. I am the God that healeth thee. Amen. The next one, Hosea 4, verse 12, please. We're getting there. Won't be much longer. Are you all right with this, everyone? You don't want me to go home yet? No, you're all right. Okay. Hosea 4, verse 12. Hallelujah. My people ask counsel from their wooden idols, and their staff informs them, for the spirit of harlotry has caused them to stray, and they have played the harlot against their God. How does the spirit of harlotry, this strong man, operate in our lives? The love of self, the love of money, the love of career, good looks, appearance, everything we put before God. I used to work for a famous man of God, who I won't mention his name. And my father had died, and I hadn't been in ministry for a while. I was a deliverance minister for this big American ministry. And anyway, he said to me, you know how Americans are when you see them. I'm sorry if there's any Americans in the room. But he said to me, Brother Michael! And that's the way he used to speak. He went, Brother Michael! So, and he did. Yeah, that's what he spoke. So he went to see him and he said, I know your pa has died. And it sounded like Old Chet. Do you remember Old Chet by Elvis Presley? It sounded like that. I know your pa's died. And I said, yeah, Dad's died and I miss him terribly. And he put his hand on his shoulder. As I got close to him, I looked at his ears. And down that ear he had a big slit with stitches on. And on the other ear he had a big split with stitches on. And I thought, what's that? I've never seen anything like it. So I said to him, what is he had an operation? Oh, he said, no. He said his face pulled round. So they cut it there, pull it round like that, and stitch it round the back. So I said, why is he that? What? I said, why do you have that? He said, well, he's got a TV ministry. He's got to look his best. So I don't know what the people think of me when they see me Friday. It's a spirit of harlotry. Whether you're good looking, whether you're ugly, whether you're beautiful, whatever you are, that's how God made you. The spirit of harlotry operates in all this cosmetic surgery stuff and all that, you know. But it does. And I mean, some of us are a bit unlucky. I mean, my hair's falling out. There's not much I can do about it. Bloke said to me once, "You ever thought of having a transplant?" And I said, "I don't want to walk around with a kidney on the top of my head." Having a joke about it, that's a genuine strong man. That's a genuine strong man. You think more of yourself and you think more of these things than you think of God. You give in to these wooden idols. Does anyone like football? Anyone like football in the room? Well, we all like football, don't we? Anyone support the Arsenal? Anyone? Oh, that's good. A couple of Arsenal supporters. Remember years ago, Manchester United, one Christmas, you know, brought out a Christmas card to all their supporters. And there was all the Manchester United team at the time. It was in the 90s. There was David Beckham there, Ryan Giggs, the Neville brothers. And they was all standing round, and it looked a holy scene, and there was a star coming down from heaven. Guess who was in the middle? Not Jesus, Eric Cantona. That was a Christmas card that they sold. When I looked at it, I thought, my Lord, how blasphemous from a football club. You know, I remember, I went to see, my sister took me to see the Beatles when I was 13. I was only 13. And she took me to see the Beatles, and I'd never seen anything like it. I was walking on air for about a week after, and I was singing all the songs, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and Twist and Shout, and all that, and it was wonderful. And I followed the Beatles, as a lot of us did in the 60s. And I remember John Lennon going to America, and John Lennon being interviewed. I remember the concert in Shea Stadium in New York, in the baseball stadium, where all the New York subway ground and all the roads around New York, and they had to bring the Beatles in by helicopter to play. Anyway, afterwards, this American woman said to John Lennon, "John, what do you think about it? You've come to America, you've conquered America, you can see how the American people have come out in their millions to see you. What are you going to say about that?" And he said to the woman, and I can't do a Liverpool accent, so I can't really do an English accent, so I won't try a Liverpool accent. And he said, "The Beatles are now bigger than Jesus." I remember him saying that. The Beatles are now bigger than Jesus, he said. I knew John Lennon had sealed his fate. I was 13 years of age, and I knew he had sealed his fate from that day, saying such a thing. Now that's the spirit of harlotry, when we think we're greater than God. God bless Elvis Presley. I remember Elvis Presley was asked a similar question. The same interviewer asked Elvis Presley, when he came out of the army in 1960, what's it like to be the king? And he said, "Man, there's only one king, and he sits on the right hand of God." That's how Elvis answered it. John Lennon said the Beatles were now bigger than Jesus. The spirit of harlotry is a real spirit. Hallelujah. Spirit of infirmity. Acts 8, verse 7. We're nearly there. We're getting there. I don't know how many that is. 7, is it? No, there ain't many to go. There we go. Acts 8, verse 7. Hallelujah. For unclean spirits, crying with a loud voice, came out of many who were possessed, and many who were paralysed and lame were healed. There is a genuine spirit of infirmity. It covers all forms of sickness. And it's the devil's way of trying to tell us that he's in control and he has the power over our bodies. The Bible tells us that our body should be a temple of the Holy Spirit. So if we are stricken with a disease, and I have to tell you, I have to see a specialist on Tuesday. I have to see a specialist. I was in a church some months ago in Vauxhall when a demon-possessed woman came in. And she had these like riding boots on. And as she walked in, it was floor like this. She stamped across the floor like that as she came into church in the middle. I thought, St. Robert, this woman. So anyway, she went up to the pastor, and he was a little sort of, he's a bit of a wheelie bloke, isn't he, Jen, the pastor, not very strong. And she went up to him and she bashed him in the chest and knocked him to the floor. She hit him straight in the chest and knocked him to the floor. So I said, well, what's going on here? And she was an airline hostess for American Airways. I wouldn't like to fly with her, would you? I wouldn't fancy that at all, would you? You know, wouldn't fancy that. I don't like flying anyway. I wouldn't fancy that. Anyway, I said, stand still. There was a man opposite, a Colombian man who was in the meeting, who had a digital camera, and he took a photo of her. And he rushed over to me and said, have a look at this. And there was the woman standing there. And right next to her, when it came out the photo, there was an identical version of her for the head to the waist standing next to her. I said, you have a familiar spirit or a demon. As I turned around, she rushed at me and she whacked me in the spleen. Now, I wasn't going to show it hurt, but it hurt like blazes. So I didn't grimace or anything like that. And we managed to cast the demon out of her, and she's back in America now. She's on United Airways. I understand. I'll give you a fair warning. She flies from Los Angeles to Japan. So don't get American Airways from Los Angeles to Japan. Anyway, I had this bruise come up, about 6 inches long. And it hurt like that. Darren knows all about it. I've told Darren about it. Because he used to go there. That's how I met Darren. So we know all about it. We should talk about this stuff. And I talk about anything to Darren. I trust Darren. So I talk about anything to him. I wouldn't lend him any money, but there we go. So anyway, come Christmas, I was eating my Christmas dinner and it hurt terribly. And I really couldn't swallow it. And I thought, what's all this? Anyway, after Christmas, went to the nurse, didn't we? The nurse said, I think you must have indigestion. They always tell you that, don't they? If you go to the doctor, they tell you you've got indigestion or diabetes. If you walk in with a big lump on your head, they tell you you're diabetic now, don't they? Because diabetes is the latest thing with the NHS. Because that's where all the money and the funding is. It's the truth, it's the truth. If they can make you diabetic, they get plenty of money out of you. So if you walk in with your ear hanging off, don't be careful, they'll tell you you're diabetic. So anyway, I went to see her and she said, no, nothing wrong with you and all that, and it got worse and worse and worse. So I went down to the doctor and he sent me up for an ultrasound. And they said, my spleen is twice its normal size. And this blow from this demon-possessed woman really damaged my spleen. And as I'm standing here now, and everything I do, could you imagine the pain of a permanent stitch? Do you remember when you used to do cross-country running? You know, well, I never used to do. I used to ride behind a car and catch them on the way back. But other people used to do it. You used to get that stitch in the side, didn't you? You used to go, oh, like that. The teachers never caught me, you know. I used to ride behind the car and have a fag until they come back the next way. But the spirit of infirmity, Satan inflicts us with sickness, suffering, disease, ailment, condition, disability. Because he wants to take away our will to have faith in Jesus Christ. He wants to tell us, I'm in charge, I can afflict you any time with any sickness. And there's nothing that you can do about it. But I tell you now, the devil's a liar. Because Jesus will heal me and he'll heal every one of you as well. For life. Janice has been healed of an incurable disease. I've already been healed of rheumatoid arthritis, of tuberculosis and diphtheria. I'm supposed to be in a wheelchair according to the doctors. I have severe rheumatoid arthritis. I can't walk, I can't do anything. That's according to the doctors. What do they know? I went to see a consultant rheumatologist 20 months ago, and I told a joke about this bloke. He was a nice guy. Even though he was upper class and went to university, I made allowances for him. And we had a laugh and all that, and he said to me, oh, you got Danny, you used to be a boxer. I said, yeah, I used to be a boxer. So he said, did you have a name, a sort of fighting name? I said, yes, I did. He said, what was your name? I said, my name was Rembrandt Cummings. He said, why did they call you Rembrandt? He said, because I was always on the canvas. So anyway, he took x-rays of my fingers, my chest, my ribs, my toes, and he came back to me and he said, there's no rheumatoid arthritis here, it's completely gone. And he discharged me. He discharged me, and when I went there, my hands were like claws. I couldn't shave or comb my hair. I know I ain't got a lot, but I couldn't comb it. And I couldn't make a cup of tea. And I was given cancer drugs. A drug called methotrexate, which they use for bone cancer. A horrendous thing. Made all my hair fall out, you know. And I was in a really terrible state. And one day I thought, I had enough of this. So I flushed them down the toilet. And got rid of them all. I never took one since. And I put my trust in the Lord. And every day I used to say from Malachi 4 verse 2, unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. Amen. Every day. Amen. Every day. And I used to say, every day, from Jeremiah, heal me and I shall be healed. Amen. Save me and I shall be saved. For thou art my praise. Amen. So the devil's a liar when he tells you you're sick. The devil's a liar when he tells you he's going to kill you through disease. And we reject him and we rebuke him. Amen. The next one. Mark 9 verse 25. The deaf and dumb spirit. Now you might say, how can that have any effect on my life? The deaf and dumb spirit. Hallelujah. When Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, deaf and dumb spirit, I command you to come out of him and enter him no more. It's a genuine spirit that operates in strokes, convulsions, people with hearing loss, people with speech impediments. It is a genuine spirit. The aim of it, this strong man, is to stop you communicating and conversing with God. It's true. I know a young man called Athan Daly who lives in Wolverhampton. I go down to visit him. He has autism, he has Tourette's syndrome, and he ticks all the time. And he tries to pray and he can't. When the Spirit of the Lord comes upon him, he can speak normally for 5-10 minutes and he can read the Bible. But the trouble is, he's in the system. And they want to try and control his condition with drugs. And his mother said to me, well, you know, I have to go along with it, Michael, because she gets funded, with his caring and all that stuff. She has to go along with it. But he has this spirit. This is the spirit that is upon him. And I remember she asked me to come down there one day, and she said the carer was there, and the carer objected to me being there because he was a JW. But he didn't believe in healing, he didn't even believe in Jesus. And he objected to me praying to the boy. And the mum said to me, be careful, he'll put a report into the social services. So you see how the devil works in many ways. Yeah. Grasped me up to the social services and said, there's this nutcase come down here today. And he said, autism is a deaf and dumb spirit. How would that look written on a report? It would make me look like a fanatic, wouldn't it? And it would make the mother vulnerable for a funding she gets from the social services. So we have to be circumspect, for the times are evil. We have to be careful what we do, even though we know the truth. Amen. 2 Timothy 1:7. Put that up, everyone knows it anyway. The spirit of fear, terror, anguish, nightmare, insomnia, phobia, compulsions, anxiety. This is the spirit of fear. All of us get frightened at times, don't we? All of us get fearful at times. You know something? When Jesus takes me in the darkness, and he takes me in the darkness on an ever-increasing, and I go into the pits of darkness, he's even taken me to the dungeons where the fragmentations of people's soul. When the devil fragments somebody's soul, he steals something from them. The demons take it to a dark place, a dungeon, and they put the fragmentation of the soul. Jesus has even taken me to those places where I've been able to retrieve the parts of these people's soul. One night I had a dream, and I dreamt I was in a dungeon. And you know you get them big stones, huge like York stones, and these stones were massive. And I just was there, and this bloke came towards me. I can only tell you, he looked across between the Incredible Hulk and Hercules. He really did, he had muscles and everything else. I mean, don't get me wrong, I weigh 19 stone, and this bloke must have weighed about 50 stone. And he had big muscles like that. And he came towards me, and he put his nose on my nose, and he took my eyes. And he had square head and a square chin. A bit like that bloke Dolph Lundgren. Do you remember Dolph Lundgren? He used to be in the old films. He was in one of the Rocky films. He had a square head and a square chin. And he looked like him about 10 times bigger than this. Anyway, I noticed there was a big cauldron there and a furnace. And he was stoking the fire, and he had metal sort of plates in there. And he stoked this metal plate, and it had the number 666. And he stuck it on his head, like that. And you saw all the flesh burn, and he come up to me with a 666 there. And even me, I thought, I'm in a bit of bother here. Even I thought that. I thought, I'm in a bit of trouble here. You know, as Frank Spencer used to say, I'm in a bit of trouble. And I thought, well, I don't know what's going on here. And I thought, Lord, why have you brought me here? And I was standing there transfixed. And all of a sudden, I looked across the room, and there was an elderly man chained on the wall. And this demon, he was a real strong man. And this demon was stoking this fire. And he went over to this old man to burn him. And the old man was screaming at him. Then all of a sudden, the chains that was holding this old man broke in front of me as I saw it. And Jesus appeared. And Jesus chained himself to the wall to take the man's punishment. And I knew I was safe. And when the strong man saw Jesus, he backed off immediately. And I came back. And these are the spiritual battles. Because everything physically we do has a spiritual manifestation attached to it. We should realise that by our actions. If we go and have a fight with someone and hit them, we might think that we've won the fight. We have created spiritual chaos in that person's life by wounding them, by hitting them, by striking them. If we ever, even if we're starving, if we steal, we create spiritual mayhem. And that's what we do. And that's what these demons... I'll tell you a funny story of me when I was a kid. I never stole anything, and I went in a baker shop one morning on the way. And the baker was carving, they don't do it anymore. You remember ham, when they used to carve ham by hand? And he had a big half of hock of ham, and he was carving it up. And I thought, there's nobody about. And I need to Mars bar. This is true, I stole a Mars bar, and I put it in my pocket. I thought, well, I'll have that at my break at school. You know when you used to get the little bottles of milk? Margaret Thatcher done away with milk, but we used to have little bottles of milk, didn't we? Well, we did it right then anyway, so... Anyway, I got down the road and felt guilty. I thought, well, it's terrible. My mother told me never to steal. Even though I wasn't brought up as a Christian, my mother was a gypsy, and my father was an Irish Catholic. So I thought, but... So I went back into the shop, and I tried to put the Mars bar back on the shelf, and the bloke caught me and thought I was trying to nick it. I was trying to put it back. And he told my mother. So I got a hell of a belting when I got home for letting my mother down. Spirit of fear. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love and sound mind. Look at that. He's given us power, love and sound mind. So why should fear bother us? Because God has come against fear. He has given us the tools to overcome fear, to fight fear. He has given us the tools. So why should fear, that wicked strong man of fear, and that is one of the devil's #1 weapons of fear. Because when you have fear, you can't move forward, you can't expand your life, you can't do the things God has called you to do. There are many, many talented and gifted people in the world who have never been able to move forward in the ministry that God has given them because they are gripped with fear. One of the biggest fears pastors have is fear of failure. Fear of people are not going to like them, people are not going to come to their church, or people are not going to listen to them. That's why they overcompensate with, I don't know, what can you say, frills and gimmicks and, you know, all sorts of things like that. They overcompensate with it. And I mean, I've seen those churches, I've seen the false testimonies, and I've seen. You know, happened to me once, it's a true story, and I won't mention the name of the ministry, but a lady came to me with HIV. She said, would you pray for me? I used to work in a charity shop on Thursday afternoon, and she came in off the street. She said, I've got HIV on my ear. I said, sit down, I'm serving. She said, would you come home after you're finished and pray for me? I said, certainly. So I said, what church do you go to? And she gave me the name of this large church. I'm not going to say the name, but it's a church that's been in the news because the guy got involved with baby smuggling, basically. So, you know, anyway. I said, what has he been praying for? He said, he told me not to take any medication, not to take any help at all. If I do, I'll be telling God that I don't have faith. I said, well, that's all right for him to say, isn't it? He ain't got the disease, you have. So anyway, I went round there and I met a mother, and I prayed the way I pray. And I think the mother wanted me to stamp on the feet and stamp on the devil's head, because they used to do that. When I first went to this church as a guest, everyone was going like that, and I said, what are you doing? They said, stamping on the devil's head. So I said, what, do you think he's lying down there on the lap? Well, they used to believe that stuff. They used to believe it. So you leave them alone. So anyway, she got sicker and sicker. And because she didn't take any medication, she developed another disease, a secondary disease called lymph gland cancer. And she was in a dreadful state. And her mother rang me up, she was in St Bartholomew's Hospital. And I went this afternoon, and I got there too early before the visit time. And I was sitting in the bench outside the hospital, the back of a place called Little Britain, which is an old part of the city there. And I was sitting there reading my Bible, and all of a sudden the procession come up the road. And there was a bloke holding a gigantic cross walking up the road. And there was all nurses in nurses' uniforms that looked about 60 and 70. And I thought this must be a fancy dress competition or something. That's what I thought initially. But it turned around, they were celebrating 50 years of the NHS. And the nurses that were alive that worked in that hospital with the 50 years when it started were coming back for a special service in St Bartholomew's Hospital because they got a 1,000-year-old chapel there. And who was there? It was George Carey, the Archbishop of Canterbury. He was walking with a big cross. And I thought, that's the Archbishop of Canterbury. So anyway, he come up and held his hand out. And I didn't know whether to say, your grace, you this, you that. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to say, I love George O'Reilly. I thought that's probably a bit presumptuous. So he said to me, may God bless you. And I said, may God bless you too. And he held my hand, and I felt the warmth. I felt the glow. I felt the love. I felt, wow, it felt good. This man touched me, and it felt good. Really did, it felt good. So anyway, I prayed for this woman, and as I opened the door, I smelled a terrible smell of corruption, of disease, of sickness. It really didn't make me feel bad. So my mother said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I can do what the Bible says. So I anointed her head with oil. And I said, if there's any sick amongst you, let them call for the elders of the church, anoint the sick with oil, and the prayer of faith shall raise them up. And if they have committed sins, they shall be forgiven them. Amen. And she said, is that what you're going to do? I said, well, to be honest with you, I can't think of anything else to do. I said, if you want me to run around the room like this, I said, I'm not going to do that. And if you want me to speak for tongues for 45 minutes, I'm not going to do that. I said, I've applied the word of God to your daughter. And I left. I went home. Saturday night, we used to have a healing service in Tottenham. We used to hire a hall from St Anne's Anglican Church. And we used to have a big healing service there. On the Saturday night, this woman walked in with her mother. She walked in. I'd only seen her on a Wednesday. And she came to me and I thought, that can't be her. But I thought, it must be. She came to me and said, what happened? She said, on Friday I went down for x-rays, I went down for scans, I went down for all the tests. She said, all the cancer has gone and the HIV has gone as well. So I said, okay. Now I never, where we live, we're not allowed to have Sky, because it's a condition there, you can't have a dish up. And they won't dig the road up for cable, so I have to watch the God channel on the internet and all that. No suffering. But on a Monday morning, I got a phone call from a Mauritian lady who used to